Hey everybody, this is Bill. I am the salty old Marine. So today I want to talk about compensation and pension examiners. When you file a VA disability claim, you're often sent to a C&PExam, right? Compensation and pension, C&P. What is a compensation and pension examiner? So let's break that down. You submit a claim. The VA processes the claim, and they may, not always, but they may send you to what's called a C&PExam, a compensation and pension exam. These are done by third parties. So it's a company that contracts with the Veterans Administration. There's several of them out there. QTC, Lidos, there's a few others. But the point is that these are large corporations that contract with the VA, and what they in turn do is they contract with medical professionals. So the idea is that when the VA sends you for a C&P exam for, say, IBS, right? Then you should be seen by a compensation and pension examiner, a doctor, a medical doctor, or in some cases a registered nurse or some other medical professional with expertise in that area, say IBS. What they're going to do, or what they're supposed to do, is they are supposed to, number one, talk to you. You've got to go there usually. Sometimes it's done over video, but it's often done in person, so you have to drive there. The VA, by the way, will compensate you for your mileage for driving to and from. But so you have to go there. The C&P examiner will talk to you and hopefully listen to what you have to say and listen to your evidence, listen to your complaints about whatever the condition is that you're filing for. And again, that's all ideally, right? I hear lots of stories of people saying that the C&P examiner didn't listen to them or didn't give them time to speak or even told them not to speak. It happens, okay? But let's talk about ideal circumstances. So the C&P examiner listens to what you have to say. They are supposed to look at the records in your claim. So whatever you submitted, whatever the VA dug out, that's all in your claim, and they're supposed to look at that. Now, again, they may not, and many people have said that something was in their records and the C&P examiner didn't look at it. I've had that experience myself, so I know what you're talking about, but this is what they are supposed to do. Again, ideal circumstances, right? So the C&P examiner talks to you, they look at your records, and then they do two things. Number one, they fill out what's called a Disability Benefits Questionnaire, a DBQ. What is a DBQ? A DBQ is basically a medical/legal document that the VA provides. You can find them on the VA website if you search for DBQ for, say, IBS, or DBQ for migraines, or DBQ for PTSD, or whatever. You should be able to find those. Not all DBQs are online, but most DBQs are online. So you get the DBQ and you download it and you can look at it. It has places for things like the diagnostic code for what you have, for your symptoms, for what tests were done, what procedures were followed, what medications being taken. There's room for all kinds of stuff, right? And I've got a video on DBQs, so if you want, you can look that up and take a peek. But basically, it has to be filled out by a medical professional. Ideally, you went and got a copy of the DBQ off the public-facing internet for the VA, and you gave it to your doctor who treats you, and your doctor filled it out. Those are ideal circumstances. Not all doctors will do that, especially VA doctors for whatever reason. But ideally, then you provide the DBQ with your claim. In fact, if you do that, you may not even be sent to a C&P exam. But let's presume for a moment that you are sent to a C&P exam with or without having provided a DBQ of your own. So you go there, and the doctor is supposed to, or nurse, medical professional, let's call it that. They are supposed to talk to you, look at your records, and then fill out this DBQ. The DBQ will be put into your claim and will be seen by the rater. In addition to that, I said two things. In addition to that, the second thing the rater does is provide a medical opinion. The medical opinion states in terms that the VA requires, at least as likely as not, or less likely than not, that your condition, your current diagnosis, is related to your in-service event or your secondary event if you're claiming a secondary claim, like, say, optical sleep apnea secondary to PTSD, right? So they are supposed to provide both the DBQ and the medical opinion. Now, here's something you really, really, really need to understand. The C&PExaminer does not work for you. They're paid by the company that contracts with the VA. So VES, Leidos, various other companies, that's who's paying them, right? Now, I'm not going to say that that means that they're biased against you. It doesn't mean that at all, although many veterans have that opinion, and sometimes the facts kind of make it look like that is the case. But truthfully, the C&PExaminer is supposed to provide an unbiased DBQ and opinion, medical opinion, based on what they have. Their interview with you, their examination of you, looking at the records that are in your claim, and so on. But it may not be in your favor. And also, and this is important, you're not going to see it, right? So unless you file a Freedom of Information Act claim later on down the road after they've turned it in to the rater, you don't get to see what it says. And so it's out of your hands. You have no control over this situation. Now, veterans win claims all the time with the opinion letter, the medical opinion, and the DBQ that was provided by the Compensation and Pension Examiner alone. I did that. So I filed for tinnitus and hearing loss. I went to an audiologist for my C&PExam. I did not have a DBQ. I did not have my own private nexus letter or independent medical opinion, as it's actually called. I didn't have any of those things. I just had my claim and my personal statement. The audiologist, who was the Compensation and Pension Examiner, put me in the booth and ran me through the tests, and they filled out a DBQ and they filled out a medical opinion. I didn't see it. Well, actually, I did see it much later. I filed a FOIA, or Freedom of Information Act request, and I saw that they had indeed said that it was at least as likely as not that my tinnitus and my hearing loss in my left ear was related to my military service. Now, I rolled the dice. I won. I've seen other C&PExam results for some of my claims in which the rater said the opposite. They said that, for example, my sleep apnea was more likely related to my old age than to my weight gain secondary to PTSD. So, yeah, you're not going to see it. It's going to go to the rater. And the rater, this is important, the rater is not a medical professional. They're not a lawyer either. So they're following a set of rules that are found in the M21, and they're adjudicating based on the information that they have. They have the claim, they have your personal statements, they have your buddy letters, they have any evidence you submitted, medical evidence, and they also have that DBQ and medical opinion from the C&PExaminer. So if the C&PExaminer does provide a negative opinion, well, there's not a guarantee that they're going to rule that way, but that's the evidence they have in front of them. So there's a very good chance that they will deny your claim, because the C&PExaminer thought it was less likely than not that it was service connected. Can you do anything about that? Sure, absolutely. If the C&P examiner missed evidence and you feel that that evidence was already in your claim, you can file a higher level review, an HLR. I've got a video on that. If that information is not in your claim and it's missing, well, then you can go ahead and file a supplemental claim and provide that missing evidence. So it's not the end of the road if your claim gets denied. However, it's strongly influenced by what the C&P examiner says. So that's very important. This is what I wanted to explain in this video. Just what is a C&P examiner and what does a C&P examiner do? All right, we're going to make some more videos and we're going to talk about C&P exams, DBQs, nexus letters. But for right now, that was all I wanted to say. This is Bill. I am the Salty Old Marine. Please like, share, subscribe, tell a friend, and as always, have a great day.